Hey Barney, I wondered, I have a client who loves to know how their ads compare to their competitors. Is there any tool at WeDiscover that I could use to help me with that task?
Yeah, funny you should ask that, Alex. We have an in-house tool we built for exactly that purpose. It's called Argus AI.
So that's Argus.
This is Argus, exactly. This is quite complicated. It runs through a variety of different processing steps. We take competitor ads and we run them through our automated pipeline that sits in Google Cloud, taking that ad, extracting the ad text from it. There's a variety of image processing steps that happen there. We then culminate in a custom classification model. I say custom, this is bespoke for each advertiser or industry that we're working in. And this takes the raw ad text and extracts usable features from it that we can use for our analysis. So turning raw ads into tabulated data that we can use for our analysis. To give you an example of the scale of this, for our latest travel industry report, we've got 16 million plus data points. So it's a huge volume of data.
Wow, okay. So, and it all just processes in the background?
Exactly, all running through Google Cloud. And we then have to take that vast volume of data, which is a real goldmine of data. And this is where our combination of deep industry expertise combined with a high level of analytical proficiency. And what we can do is to turn that data into some really usable and actionable insights. So I can show you an example here.
Now that I can understand. The code looked very intimidating.
Yes, no, so this is the whole purpose of the tool, really, is to take that raw data, go through a complex process, and we get some really usable insights. So this, for example, is looking at how the value proposition that advertisers are using within their ads. We can see how that varies both across advertisers themselves, so different airlines, but also how that varies between airlines and online travel agents. So already we can start to see.
And those classifications, services, prices, loyalty, that's just what you put into Argus to be...
That's what Argus has extracted out of those ads.
Very clever.
Yeah, so in fact, I'd suggest maybe going and speaking to Pia, who can tell you a little bit more about how we can use these to support decision making for clients.
Hey Pia, I would like to understand more about competitor landscape.
Yes, you mean Argus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Come have a look, I'll show you a few insights. So, do you know why it's called Argus in the first place?
It's something to do with Greek mythology?
Yes, exactly. So we actually name all of our products and bigger projects with something to do with Greek mythology, and Argus was a giant with 100 eyes. So he was kind of the all-seeing watchman, and that's exactly what we wanted this product to be, because it's so important to actually know what goes on in the auction or with your competitors, because ultimately you're all competing for the same space. And understanding this historically has been quite a manual and time-intensive job. So you could either go onto Google, type in relevant keywords and see what ads would come up, but that's quite a long job. And then the alternative is Google Ads Transparency Center, which you might have heard of. They actually have all of current and past ads, which is really, really fantastic, but it's too much.
Thousands and millions of
exactly.
ads.
Exactly. So it's information overload for any human. So we built Argus to give us that holistic view of what's going on.
Okay, and I see you have some visuals here.
Yes, exactly. We've got loads, but I'll pick out a few that I think are some highlights of what we've got. So we'll start with an interesting one. All of this is real data, by the way. We'll have to blur out some of the brand names, but this is real data that we used for some real life analysis. What we're looking at here is the percentage of times an ad was shown with the relevant location in place. Historically, you'd kind of go into the account and you'd check that yourself within your account and you'd go, yes, we do, or no, we don't, and we need to expand. But I think there's so much more to it than that, because that's just your own ecosystem, but like that's not where you operate. You operate with all of the competition around you.
You need to look at that like a broader view. That's
what Argus can do. It looks at the broader view. So we've picked out 3 competitors here, and same metric for them. But for example, if we look just at Norway as an example, over here, this third competitor, they're not even showing ads. Now, let's assume that they do actually service Norway as a destination. And this other competitor only 40% of the time. So actually what we could say here is we've got a massive opportunity to gain market share. Italy, on the other hand, really, really busy, lots of ads in there. So if we think about what's often used in travel, it's pricing. And pricing is often what makes you stand out as a first kind of point of call. So if we think to compete in the space of people looking to travel to Italy,
it's hard.
Is much harder, and we're probably going to have to be more aggressive with our pricing. Whereas in Norway, we don't.
So pick your battles.
Pick your battles, exactly, and like think about where strategically there's a gap in the market and how can you talk to those customers. So let's assume, yes, we want to be price competitive. This is a really, really useful overview to understand how do we actually want to have our like price proposition and what type of price proposition. So you've got like percentage discounts, you've got money off, you've got like free gifts in the retail industry. So it's like, again, if everyone gives out a free gift, you're not going to care because you almost expect it. But if your brand is the one brand doing something completely unique,
attract people.
It's going to attract people. So this is a really nice overview again of looking at what kind of promotional levers the different brands are pulling. You can see that if we wanted to gain a bit more of share of search from these latter 2 competitors, they're both quite heavy on the discount, so 51% of the time. Whereas this other competitor, they're going really heavy on deposit, so it might be like no deposit or like really low deposit or something like that. So if we want to go after getting a bit more share of these 2 latter brands, we might say, okay, what kind of discounts do we have to compete with? Again, we can look at that. So at the moment, on average, our brand's only been showing £80 when they're mentioning discounts, whereas the other 2 brands we were just looking at, they're going up to like nearly like £360, £370. So if we said, okay, we want to outprice them,
it has to go higher.
It has to go higher, which, if you go to like your commercial team and like, we need to increase our discount from £80 to £400.
Is it even feasible?
Yeah, they're probably going to laugh you out the room. They'll be like, that's a crazy strategy. But what you can do is use this and you can say, look, we're not competitive on price because it's not feasible, and we also don't want to start a pricing war. There's something which I think you might have talked to Barney about.
He showed me this.
He showed you this, yes, exactly. And this is an overview of the different types of value propositions that are often prevalent in the travel industry. So, and you might have talked about this, like loyalty. Maybe you've got a fantastic loyalty program, and if you look, like loyalty is not something that often gets called out. Yes, maybe there's a reason for it, but maybe everyone's also so obsessed with price that that's what you want to call out. Ultimately, like that's what Argus tries to do.
You're finding gaps in the markets.
Exactly. It's not about outpricing or anything. It's about finding those gaps and trying to figure out how can we stand out and how can we be unique. And I think it goes beyond like just the day-to-day marketing as well, doesn't it?
I know, it's absolutely fascinating the amount of data you can get just by analyzing what's happening in the market. It's just absolutely incredible.
One thing that I love about Argus is that none of this would have been possible before AI. So like I said, like this information has always existed, but it's actually AI that helps us get this out, and it's kind of like a 4-part process where we gather the information, we clean the data, and then we actually create a bespoke LLM for every kind of industry or even advertiser that we want to look at. So we kind of train it to pick out those different bits, which Barney might have talked to you about already. But yeah, I think it's a really nice reminder of, AI helping you achieve things at scale. Like AI isn't doing the analysis for us. It's not telling us what our strategy should be, but it kind of enables us to have that level of scale and be kind of all-seeing in the first place.